Research Failure by Alan Graham. The angry burr of a helicopter landing alerts me I will soon have a visitor. Only the top brass of the company travel in this manner, so I do my best in the time I have to tidy the lab. I get things to be just about respectable when the CEO bursts through the door, the heavy black mascara around her eyes failing utterly to hide her fury. Only the giant shoulder pads on her power suit and the sheer volume of hair seem to be weighing her anger down enough to contain it. "What is the meaning of this?" she demands, angrily, waving my latest report in my face. That's the thing with corporate management. They don't appreciate science. They don't understand that a negative result is as revealing in its own way as a positive one. I keep quiet, though. This probably isn't the time for a debate on the intricacies of the scientific method. She pulls at a few of the pages for dramatic effect. "I cannot believe what you are telling me here. More delays?" I put my glasses on, in the hope it'll make any answer I eventually give seem more intellectual. But I let her rant on, to get it all out of her system. "Just what is it that we pay you for?" She gestures at all the vast, expensive lab equipment around me. "Do you think we indulge you with all this for fun?" I know the question is rhetorical, but it seems wise to shake my head at this point, as if to say, "No, ma'am, we don't do fun. Certainly not here at Global Megafun Inc. Finally, she gets to a question that requires answering. "So why, after all these billions, are we now facing yet more delays on the project?" I take a deep breath. Of course, if she'd actually read my report, she wouldn't have needed to ask that question. But that's senior management for you. First paragraph, last paragraph, fume. "It's still the same fundamental problem," I begin. "We're struggling to override the user memory malfunction to allow for full virtual reality integration." She stares at me blankly. Maybe it isn't just this report she hasn't read, but all of them. "What do you know of the project?" I ask. She shuffles her stilettoed feet awkwardly. It's the project, clearly," she blusters. "The development of, well, of this sophisticated virtual reality super game." "Okay," I tell myself, "let's take things back to basics." The project was shorthand for full dream recording, which just a decade ago would have seemed like madness. It had started, as science often does, with the rats. During my university days, I'd managed to successfully wire up and record the dreams of rodents. It turns out they endured nightmares about cat predation, but happy dreams about discarded hamburgers and sex. For my PhD, I scaled up my experiments. Cats dreamt of chasing rats and sex. Dogs dreamt of chasing cats and sex. Penguins dreamt of flying carefree above the ocean and sex. And curiously, chickens seem to preserve some distant memory of their days as giant, terrifying dinosaurs in their dreams. Mainly, giant, terrifying dinosaurs having sex. But the revelation brought my technology global publicity. It was inevitable they'd invest the funds in turning the technology into something that might work on humans. Hundreds of companies approached me, but I went with the one with the most exciting offer: virtual reality games. This was the idea. Record a user's dream. Then, when they were awake, they could enter it again. Re-experience it. Only this time, do things differently. Interact with the fantasy world. Maybe you had a great dream that involved flying. Simply load up the device and retake to the skies. Or what if you'd endured some terrible anxiety dream about a speech going badly wrong? Imagine the confidence boost if you could do it again, but this time get it right. And no horror movie could possibly compete with the sheer visceral thrill of reliving your most terrible nightmare. And, obviously, players could re-enjoy any dream they had about sex. But the company were pretty coy about that in the promotional material. And for 5 years now, I've been working on the project, to record dreams and turn them into fully immersive experiences. And, as my latest report had explained, we weren't there yet. It's memory, I patiently said to the CEO. The big problem is that once players enter their own dreams, they acquire the memories they had when they were dreaming. The memories that made it all seem real in the first place. I mean, how can you sell an expensive virtual reality game when the player forgets they're actually playing? At this, the CEO pauses, but only for a moment. And do you think that the memory problem can ever be solved? Maybe, I reply, but I'm beginning to worry how I might go about it. Because I'm pretty sure that I'm in a dream at this very moment. Preposterous, the CEO snorted. It's a strange idea, I admit, I replied. I mean, I don't remember starting to play the game. In my memory, I've been working here for years. But, well, doesn't this lab seem just a bit too epically amazing to you? I can see the confused expression on the CEO's face as she looks around the room at the giant brain scanners, the spinning tape reels forming vast databanks, complete with flashing lights and constant pinging noises. And finally, my cute army of servo robots. I'm not buying any of this, the CEO suddenly snaps. We funded you with the best laboratory money can buy. And of course, it's going to look impressive. If this is going to be your excuse. There's one more thing, I interrupt. It's probably the key development here. It's very recent, but it's pretty much convinced me that I'm dreaming. The thing is, I don't quite know how to put this, but you are very much my type. This silences the CEO, so I continue. I mean, not just looks-wise, but it's just that ever since my youth, I've had a thing for that 80s big-haired power-dressing look, and the attitude that goes with it. I've always been a sucker for strong women telling me what to do. When you think about it, it's all just too convenient that you've ended up here as my powerful boss, who seems to put on her most expensive suit with the largest shoulder pads just to yell at a scientist. The CEO raises her hand and points directly at me. Don't you try and be clever here. I expect results from you. I don't make a habit of firing beautiful, sexy scientists such as yourself, but I won't be afraid to make an exception. But just as she finishes speaking, I can see her anger subsiding. There's an awkward pause, and then she begins talking again, more thoughtfully this time. Although, it's funny you should say that, because as you were talking about the project, I started thinking that maybe I was playing the game. I mean, arriving here by helicopter? How cool is that? And then storming into a lab in high heels, shouting at everyone? That's pretty cool. I take my glasses off at this point and let my hair down. She seems to lose her train of thought. I break the silence by saying what we're both thinking. Which one of us is actually having this dream? At this point, there's a cough from a nearby desk in the lab. It's Kevin, my intern. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think this is possibly my dream. I turn on him, perplexed. Really, Kevin? Being an intern is your dream, is it? No, not exactly. It's more a dream where I'm sitting quietly at my desk while watching two beautiful ladies argue passionately. All the while, deep down, I know this is going to end with them kissing. The CEO stares contemptuously at the young man. Her face is now back to her furious best. Is there anyone in this goddamn building who doesn't think this is a dream? Certainly not me. The CEO's helicopter pilot seems to think he should get involved at this moment. I mean, I only get to fly around all day in a fucking helicopter. And all the chicks dig pilots, man. There's no way this ain't my dream. Look, I don't care what any of you think. I raise my voice, forceful but patient. I know full well that I exist, that I am not the figment of anyone's imagination. So I think we all need to calm down now and work out how I can wake up from this scenario. Of course, there is one eventuality that none of you are considering. A new voice chips in. And that's the possibility that none of this is a dream. That you're all incredibly lucky at work. I turn to argue with this new voice and see, standing on my desk, a talking fire extinguisher. This might help, he continues, holding out a lit cigarette in his nozzle. I tentatively take it from him. I mean, you're not really supposed to smoke at work, but I'm pretty happy to make an exception on a day like this. I take a puff on the cigarette and try to remember whether it's normal for fire extinguishers to talk. My memory seems slightly hazy on the subject. My advice to all you good people, the fire extinguisher adds sensibly, is not to dwell too much on the silly detail about dreams. Just all get on with your successful lives as happy, sensible people. He hops down from the table and between the CEO and me. Why don't you two important types continue your discussion elsewhere? I hear the moons of Jupiter are particularly romantic at the moment. You could enjoy yourselves there and deal with these other petty issues later. This sounds good. I like this. I take the CEO by her hand and ask her whether she wishes to join me, just for a week or so. She smiles back at me. Why not? Then she laughs. You know, I just had a silly idea back then. When you mentioned what would be the point of a game you didn't know you were playing, I considered it from a business perspective and thought if people didn't know they were playing a game, they wouldn't know how to stop. A company could go on charging them almost indefinitely. The fire extinguisher laughs incredibly loudly at this. Yes, yes, yes. It is such a silly idea, isn't it? But enough of all this thinking. What are you waiting here for? The moons of Jupiter await. Fun, romance. Maybe even a little bit more. A little bit more. I'm going to enjoy this holiday.